Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn. All right, we're going to begin our evening of tasting great Rioja on Zoom into Wine. Thank you for joining me. Hope you guys had a great day. The holiday season is upon us. I wanted to bring in the right wines for the moment. And welcome you guys all to joining us here. A little Saturday night tradition around here. Every Saturday, every Wednesday, we do live Zooms with wine tasting, and we delivered about 30 sets of Rioja around greater Southern California for us to be able to taste and discuss. We're going to do this blind. So if I delivered the full bottles to your home, please be very careful not to expose the answer. And hopefully you play along and it'll help you discover the wines if you don't know what they are. And the goal here is to taste these 6 wines and see if you can tell much about them in the glass, and then we'll reveal them a little bit later. We'll ask you which ones you prefer, and we'll do all kinds of little exploration. But I love Rioja. I think it is one of the great value propositions in wine. And I don't know that you can get some wine. So let's get started. I've got a little PowerPoint. What I'd love you to do, if you have 6 glasses, you're really in style tonight. If you have 3, that's what I'm going to use. But let's get wines.
Ian, question.
Yeah.
Are there any of them that we should put in the glass now, or just do them as they come up? What do you recommend?
Put them all in the glasses now, and let's.
All right.
If you just got the first 3, that's fine too. But let's get them in front of us. I'm going to play a little bit of video too, so we're going to have a few minutes to kind of sip and relax. But I kind of want to transport us a little bit. How many of you guys have been to Spain? I love my Spain. I love going to Spain, and I wanted to kind of deliver that a little bit more. Now, some of you guys ordered the ham. This is the year that Spain ran out of ham. What can I say? I literally called like 50 people trying to buy Spanish ham, and I did wait too long. I waited until like the 5th of December to try to get my ham for this event. And I literally even went to Instacart and tried to order a freaking leg, a whole ham, like 15-pound ham. That's what it was coming down to. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do it. Couldn't find one. Costco even had them. They're all sold out everywhere. So my ham guy's like, I've got the Italian version. So at least you have some ham if you ordered some ham. Nothing wrong with some good prosciutto. All right. So let's and if you've been to Spain, this might connect you a little bit more, but I went on a couple of occasions. Once right after my first marriage came undone, I took like 3 weeks and a car ride around Spain, and gave myself a little bit of a personal vacation, relaxed, and just kind of got lost in Spain. Didn't really have too many targets to go see. Once I got there, I could just kind of look at the scenery a little bit and chillax. And it's a pretty dark place. I mean, there's some, the architecture, the energy, the history. There's a lot of interesting things that have happened over the millennia in Spain, and a lot of war, a lot of death, a lot of religion, and the most recent events that really shaped the wines that we're tasting tonight happened basically at the end of the 1800s, when Bordeaux went into 3 successive scourge. A lot of the Bordelais picked up their barrels and their even some infected grapevines and carried them down into the Rioja zone and set up shop making wines in Rioja. They had heard that there was some good success going on down there. They thought they'd never get out of all the problems that they were having in Bordeaux, and they moved on. So they brought some of their winemaking style, winemaking ideas down into the Bordeaux wine region, and they also brought the diseases that they were running from, namely phylloxera, and planted it right there in the ground. So Rioja's had kind of a mixed past of success, but it really kind of got started at that moment. And what we're going to do now is just kind of take a little tour of the wine category, and then we're going to watch a couple videos. So tonight, as we taste through the wines, we've got these 6. I'm not saying what order they are in, but 2 of them are Crianza, and I'll go back to that last slide. 2 of them are Crianza, and we'll talk about what that means. One of them's a Tinto, one of them's a Reserva, and 2 of them are Grand Reservas. This is basically where Rioja is. It is, I'm sorry, this PowerPoint wants to flinch really fast here. This river right here runs right through the center of Rioja. It's also the major way to move wine around. And they got it up to here, or maybe out to here, to port that way. Then maybe they send it down into Barcelona going this way. But this river is really a key part of the region, and separates the appellations. Grape varieties, you know, lots of people think of Tempranillo, but Grenache, Graciano, Mozuela are the major grape varieties. Kind of a not so major Maturana, Tinta, another grape variety. Viura, Malvasia, Grenache Blanca, Tempranillo Blanco are the majors. There are some other varieties there. I'm kind of surprised to see Chardonnay listed, but it is apparently being grown there, probably more as a fun expression for one of these newer wineries. Taking a look at the appellation map of Rioja, Rioja Alta, Rioja Alavesa, Rioja Baja, La Rioja. These are the kind of the sub appellations of Rioja, and really bring a little different texture, a little different smell and character. Even though the Bordelais came down and influenced Rioja, it's set up a little bit more like Burgundy. A lot of small parcels and some really interesting sites. The words that we were looking at tonight, the different types of wines, and there is a category called Joven over here that we're not necessarily tasting, although you could argue that the Tinta is kind of a Joven wine, but it actually has more in common with the Crianza, the Tinta that we're going to try, but it's more of a old school style before these rules were set up. But Crianza, 1 year in barrel, 1 year in bottle. Reserva, 1 year in barrel, 2 years in bottle, and Grand Reserva, 2 years in barrel and 3 years in bottle. Now, Grand Reserva rules have changed over the years. If you go back a long way, Grand Reservas were often kept in wood for 5 years. And there are still some producers that do that. But these are the minimums to carry those names. And when I show you the bottle, we'll look at the back of the bottles, and you'll see some stickers on the back of the bottle. They're really serious about issuing these names. Another really amazing wine of the region is the white Rioja. If I did an event on white Rioja, the audience would probably be a lot smaller, but these wines really are pretty spectacular, especially when you get into the Grand Reserva white Riojas. They're aged, they're oaky, they're oxidized, and they can get really amazing. Now, I was born in 1968, and one of the greatest wines in the world is 68 Rioja. So if you're a 68er, that's a good one for you to find. White Rioja 1968, one of the best wines I've had from my birth year. And in fact, if you don't have a great wine from your birth year, you probably want to make sure you try a Rioja from your birth year, because they age really well, very slow, and quite honestly, the dollar for dollar, even in my case, a 50-year-old wine still represents a pretty decent value proposition. If you went to 68 and drank a great Napa Valley Cabernet, it'd probably pay $700 a bottle. In Rioja, I can pick one up for about half that and drink at the really top end of the scale. So it's still a good value. Some vintages are more expensive than others. 68 is known as a great vintage, so it's a little more expensive. So we're going to taste all these wines blind. And so I'm going to show you them in the same order that we presented them before. It's basically kind of a order based on the cost of the wine. And we do want to keep that in mind. Some of these wines are going to need to be tasted with the context of how much they cost. Because when we make wine, we don't just make them all the same way. Each is going to have a certain, potential because of the vineyards they come from, the age of the vines, the yield in that vineyard, and all those things go into kind of shaping how possibly good that wine can get. This is a really cool brand right here, El Coto. I'm able to sell this wine. I think it's less than $12 on our website. And I just can't believe it. It's just a really great little bottle from a real serious brand. They have 500 hectares. And when someone says they have a hectare, that's 2.3 acres. That's over, what's that, 1,300 acres. That is a real piece of property. And they make a good amount of wine. In fact, most Rioja producers, to be able to leverage their potential and their economic potential of economies of scale, they make a lot of wine with a really small staff, and they send it out all over the world as an ambassador for the brand. And by keeping the wine very low in cost, it moves through and really keeps the cycle, the economic cycle, in good shape. So this is one of our top values on the website, and I think you're going to like it tonight. A really great brand to know. They're high-end Grand Reserva, which I don't carry right at this moment, but as I move through a couple, I'll keep changing them around. I'll probably have the Grand Reserva on my site at some point. It just got like a 97, as most of the Grand Reservas do. They get like 96, 95 points, and they're beautiful wines, but you're going to pay dearly for them. So a nice little map of their kind of their position along that river, and you can see them up here. Pretty big parcel of land. I'm not sure how much of it is in total is planted, but they definitely are a brand to be reckoned with, and they've been around for a good amount of time, not forever, but they certainly have the land holdings to kind of dictate their path, their future, and no one's going to mess with them. One of our wines tonight is Pequeña, and this is a really cool brand that I've loved for a long time. Practicing organic. They're not the oldest brand, but they come from a lot of history in the winemaking, and they really kind of got set up as the world was kind of welcoming Spain back into the economic formula, coming out of a real repressive totalitarian dictatorship. No one was doing any business with Spain for a long time, and as those layers came off and the world welcomed them back, investment started to come in. And this was a brand that was kind of revitalized in 1992. And this is where they are up near San Vicente, I believe is the name of where their brand is from. Their little town. Look at that little place there, a little castle. Like I said, Spain is pretty dark, and that castle looks almost like it's abandoned, but there's probably people living there. That's just how bleak they keep it, dark and and mysterious. But the personalities of the people, they're certainly full of life and have an amazing charm about them. Here's our winemaker holding some Tempranillo, and you can see some of the efficiencies that they build here. The way they move the wine from one barrel to another. Those barrels actually don't move. They just move the wine out of the barrel and keep moving the barrels through. So that's kind of a technique that you don't see in very many places. But they do have to find ways to be efficient. And one of their efficiencies is making lots of wine with a small team. And another is that they kind of allow the wine just to do what it's going to do, and kind of a hands-off approach. So not micromanaging very much, but that's our little facility there. Alegre Valagon. Really a cool brand, very set up to kind of make wine like it was pre 1880. They went back to kind of employee styles that were made back in the early 1800s and even before, and they use a lot of stem inclusion, which will set them apart, and probably something to look for not only in the color of the wine, because this is our only 2018, but it's also going to have some stem inclusion in the nose, and that might pass on a little bit of more of an herbal note, although that might be hard to tell because some of these have a little bit of that already from their wood regiment, which we'll be talking about. But all the grapes here, they say 15% stems. I saw 25 on another slide, so that may change every year. How much percentage of the fruit do they use that also has the stem inclusion, we call it. And they spend time in some large and some small wood. And they're way out here on the edge. So not only are they not necessarily trying to comply with the traditional, kind of the modern tradition, but going really old school, and they're kind of off the edge of the map, just as they probably wanted to find some unique area to really kind of highlight their style. We will talk about the difference between French and American oak here in a little bit. And we got lots and lots of character. Now, one time I got to visit a producer with a view just like this. And they had a little fire pit, and they made us lunch with some cuttings from the vineyard, and an open fire. And this was a very attractive vineyard owner. And she was wearing these stilettos and really tight blue jeans. And I was traveling with a group, and it was me and my brother and a bunch of tourist friends that we kind of sold the trip as a small group travel like we do. About 12 of us, I think. And this vineyard manager was stirring the fire, and every time she bent over, all you could see was this amazing view. And everybody in the group agreed that she really was the best part of the view. She had quite a way with that fire. I won't go into any further details, probably inappropriate, but it was this view that really kind of reminded me of that. These old vines are, everywhere in France and in Spain, the vineyards look a lot like this. There's more vine than there are people. They employ very natural processes. They're not trained or trellised. They're all old vines. And they have this just a real amazing sense of place, this bush vine kind of character. And a lot of these vineyards were abandoned. They were just flat out abandoned. There was no place for the wine to go. There was no economic benefit in making the wine. And so a lot of the government stimulus programs were to just give the vineyards away and get to create jobs and attract financial investment. In fact, they still have some pretty crazy programs in Spain to attract financial investment. if you want to change your life, you could buy a house in Spain. I think in Barcelona and maybe some other cities, you spend $500,000 on the house, purchasing a house, you will get EU citizenship and healthcare for life. So pretty interesting, but they do all kinds of crazy stuff to attract people to Spain and to rehabilitate some of these vineyards. These guys are the family that own the Allegra Valgagon and Oscar Allegra and Eva Valgagon. And someone can help me with the pronunciation, that would be great, because I suck at it. Anytime you could pop in if you want to.
Valgañón.
Thank you. Whoever said that, bless you. But lots of handwork here. Not just for a picture. This is really how it's done. Small wood uprights, hands-on approach, gentle pressing. This is what we do with the fruit. A little bit of stem inclusion. Keep the cap moist. Get the extraction of the color before it goes into the press. One of our producers tonight is an absolute legend, Lopez de Heredia. We're going to taste the Basconia. And this is the Reserva. And if you're going to visit one winery in all of Spain, this is probably the first one you got to go to. It's the benchmark of the town of Haro. And this one is aged 5 years in barrel. And it may even go longer than that. And if you visit this cellar, and you'll see some photos of it, the cellar is part of the flavor of this wine. It's so old, they don't put new wood barrels in the cellar. They just continue to repair and not replace the barrels. They actually have two coopers working full time, and all they do is go around and clog leaks and take barrels apart and rehabilitate them. They want to keep things as they were over 100 years ago. And Haro is really the kind of the epicenter of Rioja, a major port with the river and the train station kind of colliding right there. So a lot of the wineries, their wineries back right up to the river. They put their wine barrels on the little boat, and they got it into Haro where the train connected. This is literally what Lopez looks like. The label, everything about it, turn of the century, super cool. Just like it was over 100 years ago. And they bring a little bit of modern in, but this is their modern is in a couple of touches on the architecture, and the place is really well run. Wines are hard to get now, but really old vine vineyards and top quality land, and they own a couple of different vineyard sites. We'll see her in a little bit. I met her years ago, and I still get these amazingly beautiful Christmas cards every year. I'm still hoping I'll get one this year. We'll see, because that beautiful artwork, and they have it beautifully printed on paper, and this is a look at the cellar. And this is how they do it. They bottle the wine, they lay them down, and they clean these bottles up when they offer them on extended reserve programs. So I literally just bought a 1980 Rioja from a wall like that, and they get it down, they clean it up. They never put the label on the wine until it's going into circulation. So they just clean the bottle up and put the label on, and it is absolutely pristine, 1980, straight from the winery. And you could even, they'll release maybe a little bit of each year around the world. And you kind of only get to buy a couple of bottles when they do it. and the cobwebs, you would say, oh, looks dirty or whatever, but they really want to keep the energy of the cellar and the life in the cellar as part of not just the aesthetic, but it's actually part of the smell and the nuance and everything. And they disturb very little. This is a cool brand, and we're in another part of Rioja, Alavesa. This is Rioja Alavesa's probably the most interesting wine brand. The bottle itself, very cool. It's kind of got like a cement paint on the outside. It actually has a benefit to the wine too. Light does not penetrate it, really slows it down. It's a very, very pretty brand, very pretty wine. Very slow on its maturation in the bottle. Here in the map, we're back up over here now. So we've been over in Haro, we've been way out over here. We're going to continue to kind of move through the different areas. They have this really massive winemaking facility that can make a great amount of wine, but they also have an incredible history and lineage here, one of the original brands. And this is a little more kind of, I would say, appetizing than visiting the cellar of Lopez, because they really are tightly run and very, very clean and neat. Maybe a little bit more Bordelais influenced by the winemaking style, and a little less traditional Spanish in that regard. But here's their new winemaking facility, their welcoming center. It looks like a spaceship just touched down. Gorgeous, beautiful, right on the highway, visitor center. Another wine we're going to taste tonight, Gran Reserva. I'm really excited to try this with you. 2006 Il Puntillo, and this is a big, beautiful Rioja 06 is the current vintage. Can you imagine carrying the wine for 14 years? They're not an old brand. This is actually part of that Renaissance story I was telling you about. Jorge Ordonez really helped bring some of the revolution and some of the money, some of the expertise. And this wine is traditionally made 100% destemmed, 28 months in wood, but French oak. And so we're going to taste some American oak, some French oak, have a little bit of influence of both. And this time we're up here in the northern part of the Rioja region. Of course, Navarra is over here, and France is not too far away. Right up against the mountains, Pyrenees. And they even use the terrain as part of their cellar. Really cool. Underground, and this is a great place to age wine. Economic benefits because the ground is really cool, keeps the moisture high, and it's a really beautiful cellar. Okay, that's a quick overview of the wines that we're going to try. Now we're going to be able to taste these first three, and we'll just watch a quick video, and then we'll get your opinion about the first three, and then we'll reveal the first three. Okay, so our next step is to play the video.
Perhaps nowhere else in the world of wine is so entwined with the use of oak barrel aging as Rioja is. Like so many wine innovations, the practice started in Bordeaux, just across the Pyrenees. A Riojan priest named Manuel Quintano studied in Bordeaux and began experimenting with oak in the 1780s to great acclaim, but Rioja as a whole would not truly blossom until the collapse of Bordeaux's wine industry from phylloxera in the 1870s. This cataclysm led many talented vignerons to travel across the Pyrenees with their French oak barrels in tow, and Rioja skyrocketed to the international renown it still enjoys today. But French oak is very expensive, and Spain's last remaining New World colony of Cuba was just a short skip from the USA and its massive reserve of cheaper American oak. Thus, the most famous descriptors of American oak, such as vanilla, coconut, and cream, became linked with Rioja. American oak, with its wider set grain, allows for more oxygen transfer than European species, which served to accent the fruit and power of the heavily extracted Riojas of the 80s and 90s. But like in so many Old World wine regions, some Riojans have been seeking to bring elegance and nuance back to their wines, and as such they have returned to the French oak that their ancestors first experimented with before settling largely on American. Viñedos de Paganos El Puntido Gran Reserva 2006 is one such wine, 100% Tempranillo in 100% French oak. You will find the sweet and sour vanilla flavors from the American oak replaced by sweet and spicy chocolate flavors from the French. All the classic Rioja pairings still apply for this wine: steak, lamb, just about any red meat. Poultry is very much an option too for this lighter-bodied callback to Rioja's early history.
Nice. All right. So that's video number 1. Any questions right now? Please do try the first 3. Develop an opinion about them, and we're gonna break them out just a little bit more in a moment. I'll play a second video here, and then we'll get together and talk about these first 3 wines.
In general, people who live from the land love what they do. And I think it's part of the clue of lasting more than one generation. Plus the result is also very satisfying, which is wine, you know? And I think we all enjoy it. We give pleasure. Our work is giving pleasure.
The 2 sisters who run day-to-day operations at R. Lopez de Heredia, Viña Tondoña, are part of the 4th generation to manage this distinguished bodega, the region's most traditional winery and a living history of classic Rioja winemaking. Change happens slowly here. The sisters' respect for their family's past is profound. Visiting the Lopez de Heredia cellars and drinking a bottle of 40-year-old Viña Tondoña Blanco, a visitor can almost sense the watchful presence of past generations.
One of the reasons why Lopez is such a singular house is because they have not only not touched their way of making wine, it seems like they haven't even touched their cellar, period, since the late 19th century. I mean, you go down there and there's cobwebs everywhere. It's pretty impressive.
We don't like to turn the lights on very much because the spiders get afraid, you know.
Before he started his own bodega in 1877, Don Rafael Lopez de Heredia sold his wine in bulk to French negociant. Phylloxera had devastated the Bordeaux vineyards, so enterprising French merchants came to Rioja to look for wines to bottle under French names and to sell in France until Bordeaux could recover.
He made the wines adapt to the French way of making, but always maintaining the personality of the wines from Rioja, maintaining the local varieties, maintaining the local way of making the wine and the way of growing the wines here, in order to maintain a different character to the wines from France. This is what we want to keep on doing, to maintain our, maybe because we are a family-owned company, and we still want to maintain the philosophy of our great-grandfather, but mainly in order to preserve the character of the wines from the area of Rioja.
When you read the letters now of our great-grandfather, when he was so tired with all the problems in the vineyards, with the phylloxera, and he was doubting, and he was saying, I'm going to sell the vineyards, but we, thank God, he didn't. We are still here. Or when you read the letters of my great aunt, Julio Cesar, who was sharing with his brother that they were getting up early in the morning, like at 6 o'clock, and working all the way through 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning during the Spanish Civil War for not really being very successful. When I have difficult moments and I have to work very hard and I'm tired, I think this is nothing in comparison, you know? I really cannot give up. It's very helpful, it's very positive, and it's very beautiful as well.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Three very different wines. Hope you're enjoying them. They're always full of different expression here. Notice the color. I always recommend when you're tasting to use a white background and take your wine and kind of appreciate the color. There might even tell you kind of the story of the age of that wine. The different wines that we're tasting, I also have organized a note here for you. Let me get that up. And I will share that. Here it is. If you want to ask or look at which wines we're tasting, I've provided all of the tasting notes in the chat box, and I'll share that now. These are the 6 wines that we're tasting. If you wanted to click through them and see the different oak, that might help you. I will say that in this first flight, some of you might have a favorite. I don't want to influence it, so I'm going to ask you to just put which number you prefer, 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. Veronica, what do you like, number 1? I can't hear Veronica. Actually, I muted everybody, so I'm going to ask everybody to unmute, make some noise. Veronica, if you don't mind speaking up, I want to talk to you about wine number 1 because I think the nose is beautiful.
Hi, I liked the nose, and I liked I don't know, it felt like it was like on the lighter side for some reason, and I like that. I was torn though. I was torn between 1 and 2, and I went with 1.
Okay, cool. Well, I love the nose of 1. It's very poised. There's some really nice raspberry. I want to point out in number 1, I really don't smell any influence of American oak. And when we do, I'll mention it to you. Well, let's move into number 2. When you smell number 2, that is the smell of American oak. It is the smell of dill that rises from the glass. And it's part of the recipe there because of, as they talked about in the video, they weren't doing any business with the French. They had more closer ties with the American market through their trading partner Cuba, and the availability and the price of American oak was the right thing to do. And so they kind of grew to be partial to the American oak influence on the nose, and these are the same American oak barrels that we make whiskey from. How about wine number 3? Notice the color change. So subtle, so pretty, almost Burgundian, really soft in the nose, doesn't have the same pop and punctuation. Wonderful balance. Sometimes less is more. And this is a really delicate, pretty, elegant wine. All right. I'm going to have you try to take a guess. Which one do you think is which? And I think the way I'm going to organize that is if I'll pull open my event. And let's see. Go here. We'll go to Merchant of Wine. We'll take a look at our event. I don't know if you can see that anymore. I think I just closed it. Share it again. We're going to go to Merchant of Wine. We're going to look at the event itself. And we'll just go right down the list here. A is the Crianza El Coto. B is the Crianza Bodegas Hermanos Pequeña. The Tinto will be C. The Lopez will be D. The Faustino will be E. And the El Puntito will be F. So take a guess. Which one is which? 1, 2, and 3. If you want to answer it all in one big little post there, that'll be fun. We had such a week. In fact, Joe called me earlier and he's like, man, you sound tired. I was exhausted. I went and got a coffee and ice cream. I had to pump myself up with sugar and caffeine. We sent out a buku amount of wine orders this week. Thank God. We had a wonderful week of business. We did a bunch of private events, private Christmas parties, and my team worked tirelessly, and we can't believe the good fortune we had this week. Oh gosh, hundreds of packages went out of here, and we had an event on Friday night for over 100 people, and every package but one made it. And that guy lived in Louisiana. I warned him. Okay, we got some good educated guesses coming in. Erica, I really appreciate your answer. But you said number 1, so for the third wine, will I get it? El Coto. Oh, wait, no, you said number 3 is El Coto. So number 1 you're saying is Bodegas. I see. Bodegas Hermanos. Okay. Yes, Barnett, good deduction. Number 1, the younger wines. Number 2, you narrowed it down to the one with American oak. That's really sticking your neck out there, Barnett.
Not really, since you gave that one away.
Well, I think a couple of these have some American oak. American oak you got here, and you've got here. And some of them use a mixture of American and French, kind of dabbling in both. All right, so we're going to reveal our first 3. Number 1. I love the color saturation. The nose is just really, really amazing. It's like crushed rock, and it's got this wonderful red fruit salad in the nose. And I wonder if you could almost smell stem inclusion in number 1. There's that 15% in that wine. This is our Tinto Alegre Valgagnon. How am I getting better, Clarissa?
Old one.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, that's number 1. That wine's around $25. Okay. Did you like that one?
What letter was that?
Oh, I will refer to the letter.
C.
Thank you. Yes,
C.
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 Correcto. All right. And I think the wine just keeps getting better too as it's sitting in my glass. It's getting more like a cassis. It's got this really great concentration of fruit. Mouth is still pretty tight. Maybe not as rewarding, but I this is the kind of wine I would love to hold and taste years from now. Really, really pretty. Okay. Wine number 2. Which one did you like, Marilyn?
2.
I think 2 was the overwhelming favorite. This is wine on our chart here. Bodegas Hermanos, number 2, a whopping $22.95. 95 Tempranillo, 3 Graciano, 2 Garnacha. Robert Parker, 90 points. I actually did visit this winery on that solo trip, my little sad trip across Spain, which turned out to be great and amazing. And but really gave me an appreciation for these wines. And man, you can really smell that use of wood and the time in wood. And probably it says in here about what percentage is I'm just looking at that note. I wanted to know how much of it is new. I'm not seeing that here. I think I read it on the back side of this note a little deeper. But this brand is really spoken about in a very high regard and is brought in by a really good importer, and they could bring in anybody they want. And this is kind of their soldier. It's the main wine of the winery, their main production. The crayon's, a year in wood, year in bottle at minimum. So it's probably 1 year. And I think that the use of new wood is pretty impactful, like probably 50%, 40% new, just to get that kind of, that char in the nose there. All right, wine number 3. As I was scanning the room, we did have a few of you like number 3. Eleanor, you like number 3?
Yeah, actually, I like number 1, but since nobody else said it, I was embarrassed to say it. I just didn't like number 2. It was too much for me.
Number 2 is pretty intense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, you either love it or hate it, I think. It's kind of like cream in your coffee.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all.
You don't like number 3?
I don't like number 2.
Number 2.
It was, yeah. 3 is great. I love 3.
Cool. Well, there's a lot of people that did like number 2, and I think I personally think that number 2 has a moment. Like if I want, sometimes I'm in the mood to have that kind of, it's almost like having a piece of wood hit you in the face, like big. I want to go in and get some wine that's gonna fix me. I need. And I've had I need a great glass of Rioja, or am I going to have an elegant piece of meat, a nice meal, something like that. I will say number 3 is the Faustino. And ooh, is it soft and smooth, and this wine is it's strange how they market this wine. I will be honest. You don't see it everywhere, and then all of a sudden you see it in a hurry because they kind of bring it in at a really decent price for. It's just crazy to see this. Let me see. I'm going to bring it up. Too many things open on my screen here. Click on that, and it goes right to it. Yeah, target retail on this wine is $55, but nobody buys it until they say, "All right, now it's on sale," and they kind of sell it to us at a much lower price point. Because they do make a ton of it. I mean, you saw the size of that winery, and they have both that old world winery where they do a lot of the work, and then they have that visitor center that looks like a spaceship. And a lot of the wineries there in Rioja have that. I mean, the Spanish flair for architecture kind of goes all over the place, and you can see some of the most modern, most amazing wineries ever. Visiting Spain, and they're built for scale, man. They're huge. We were in a winery once, and it literally in the barrel room started to rain. It created its own environment.
Wow.
That's how big the barrel room was. Faustino. So this is 86 Tempranillo, 9 Graciano, 5 Mosuela. Some nice scores, rewarding this effort, this kind of champion here. What's kind of cool is if you're traveling in the backwoods of America, I went on a steakhouse tour. I was in a restaurant in Kansas City, and they had, the kind of the usual suspects in the Napa cab compartment. And I just hate overpaying for that stuff in a steakhouse. And I'm looking through the list, and there it is right there. Other wines of the world department, 1 Rioja, Faustino. And this wine was about $65-$70 on the steakhouse wine list. And I'm like, oh, we could drink that all night long. That was about 10, 15 years ago. It's probably a little bit more than that now, but really, really pretty. I'm trying to remember the oak regimen here. I'm gonna have to add some more notes to my pages here, American oak or French oak, but I believe the composition here is mostly, it's like 50-50 French and American. And the American oak is quite old and not very impactful. And the French oak is kind of always being renewed. But there is something, about the age of the age on the nose here. It's restrained, it's lower in alcohol, it's got kind of a smell of Spain, like olives and Spanish herbs. Love that mouthfeel too. And that's obviously benefiting from 14 years of age. But that's the magic of a Grand Reserva. And this is one of the best deals. And I mean, come on, $40 for 2006. That's cray. All right, we're going to go and eliminate a couple of those. We're going to pour our next 3 wines. Good time to take a ham break. And a good time for a commercial. Let me just do a little quick commercial since we're right here already. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going anywhere for the holidays. So I'll be right here. So I want to recommend that you come and join me for a little Champagne 2020 exit as we're going to Ruin Art Champagne next Wednesday. And Rune Art's one of my favorite brands. Now, if I had all the money in the world, would be drinking Dom Rune Art, which is like a $300 bottle of champagne. But this one's pretty damn good. And you could buy it on the half bottle for $50. Or you could buy the full bottle for $79. I have a really good price on these wines. And this 23rd, it's a good night to light up the fireplace or put a fireplace on your flat screen TV and pretend you have one. And to open a bottle of Rune Art. And we're going to have a member of the Rune Art team on the Zoom with us. And we're going to talk about the history of Rune Art and to really kind of deep dive on this wine. There's also an opportunity to buy the whole champagne series that we're doing around the holidays as a single purchase and save quite a bit of money. If you bought the Rune Art, the Krug, and the Comte de Champagne at regular retail, you pay close to $500 for the 3 bottles. For this Christmas, we can do all 3 for $350. That includes the 2007 Comte de Champagne, absolutely my favorite wine on the planet. If I could drink it every day, I would. And I almost did. I almost went to work for Mr. Tattinger many years ago. And just a sensational bottle of Blanc de Blanc, the connoisseur's wine. And then we're also going to spend the night with Krug. And this is the joke about Krug, is that Robert Parker said this is what God gives the angels when they've been good. This is just a sensational bottle of wine. This is an oxidative style, oak barrel aged, red and white, blended together to create this massive expression of champagne. And it is just absolutely the leader in the category of tête de cuvée. And this is their entry level. Their single vintage wines and Clos wines set record prices in champagne. They have their Ambonnet current release, I believe, is like 2006, and it's around $3,000 a bottle. This is the extreme end of the luxury section of champagne, is Krug. And we have the half bottle, again, really great way to get involved. You just want to pick one event. Our half bottle price is sensational, $84. We might have the lowest price in LA on the half bottle. If we're not the lowest, we're within $1 or $2. And then the full bottle is only $159. That's only on the Zoom though, because the trick is that my Zooms don't show up on Wine Searcher, so I don't get in trouble for basically giving the wine away. And if you go to the website and try to buy the wine, it is more expensive on the website. So save yourself some money if you want to go big and do the 350 package, because that saves over $150. All right, that's my commercial. You got your next 3 wines poured. And we've got one more video to watch. It's kind of a fun thing. Deborah, that cat is really a scene stealer. No, just keep the cat up there. That's fine. What's your cat's name?
Her name is Riley.
Hi, Riley.
Oh, she loves Zoom.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna get my screen. I got so many things open right here. I'm gonna take you into this video here. I'm actually just showing a little piece of this historical video. This guy spends a long time speaking in Spanish, which I'll share this video with you at the end in our gift bag. it just kind of gives us another little
el desarrollo arquitectónico.
look at
Despite
Rioja.
Rioja's geographic proximity to Bordeaux and its close historical ties to the great chateau of the Médoc, Rioja arguably has more in common with Burgundy. For one, much like the Côte d'Or, Rioja is parceled into numerous small vineyard plots farmed by thousands of growers. The economic model that grew out of this arrangement made it difficult for large bodegas to consolidate vineyard land, even as they came to dominate the region's commerce by the 1960s.
The north of Spain, where Rioja is, like the north of France, the north of Italy, the property of the land is very fragmented into very small pieces, which belong to many small growers, which are not even professional wine growers. They work in a bank or on a PR company or in a winery or in a car factory, and then they go to tender, to cultivate their vineyards on the weekends. So in this place, the fact that the property is so fragmented makes it very difficult that the industry owns the land, because for you to own a meaningful piece of land, you would have to buy from 1,200 people. So you start buying, but when you reach the 12 people, you have to pay a myriad for a piece of land. So really, like Champagne, like Burgundy, it is very difficult to find big consolidation of lands. This is one of the main reasons why the model is what it is: the industry and the agricultors. In Rioja, we've got something like 500 wineries and 20,000 agricultors.
On the other side of the coin, some grape growers began forming cooperative unions in order to help them negotiate better prices collectively.
Y aquí llegamos al punto de inflexión entre el viticultor y las grandes empresas, ¿no? Muchas veces no hay acuerdo sobre los precios de la uva, o en muchas ocasiones los viticultores se sentían antiguamente discriminados, y quizá este es el germen de muchas cooperativas, la unión de los viticultores para defender sus intereses en común, y bueno, de ahí una parte de las cooperativas supo evolucionar y dedicarse a la producción en embotellado, que yo pienso que es un poco lo que ha supuesto la estabilidad económica, y porque al final es la última fase de mercado y es donde está un poco el beneficio, ¿no?
Another critical development that grew out of Rioja's grower-bodega arrangement was that the great Rioja houses were obliged to source grapes from multiple grape growers, sometimes numbering in the hundreds. As a result, not only were the wines being produced by the bodegas usually a blend of several grape varieties, there were also a mix of grapes from all three subregions. Thus, winemakers could capitalize on regional variations in order to minimize vintage variation and ensure consistency and quality.
The structure of these vineyards is more like Champagne. I mean, Champagne has a huge diversity. Most of the Champagne houses are buying grapes, but it's every brand carries a different philosophy. So I think that in our case, both Rioja and Marqués de Cáceres, you would find the same diversity in quality and in philosophy.
Following the logical progression of its evolution as a wine region reaching its maturity, Rioja has witnessed a major shift in thinking among its vintners in recent decades. Winemaking technique still matters, of course, but every top vintner now realizes that quality begins in the vineyard. The best winemakers today are micromanaging their vineyards and adopting the most rigorous procedures for selecting clones, determining harvest dates, reducing yields, and sorting grapes before crushing. For Rioja, this laser-like focus on the vineyard represents a fundamental shift.
Al menos en mi concepto, y yo creo que ya cada vez lo pensamos más gente, el vino se hace en la viña. Esto es evidente, ¿no? A mí...
So again, I'll share this video with you guys if you want to watch it to its entirety. It's about 20 minutes long, so I'll cut it off there. But there's some great historical references. Amazing to be able to kind of feel like you're right there in the vineyard. and that was produced by the Culinary Institute of America. So I'll provide that in our after event gift bag, which we always send out. And we always have, some really good opportunities for you to purchase any of the wines that we had tonight, and that's something hopefully you get after the show's over. I do send them out at like email intervals of about 20 at a time, so they try not to go to your spam filter, but you might find them there. So take a look. I try to get them out about 20 to 30 minutes after. I include a copy of the video of our session if you want to watch it again. Some people miss the sessions and they want to be able to watch a little bit later. And so they're there for you. All right. I'd love to know which one of the three you prefer. Wines 4, 5, or 6. Put it in the chat box and let's see what you think. So the last time I got to go to Rioja, I got to take everyone to Riscal, which has the Frank Gehry building. Have you seen it? I'm gonna have to look at that. We actually started in Bilbao at the Frank Gehry Museum. It's in Bilbao. And then Marquez de Riscal. Let's see, I'm going to share that with you now. This is Marquez de Riscal, the winery built by Frank Gehry. It has a Michelin 3-star restaurant. And it is just got a lot of history. The wines are always very good. The facility is spectacular. And I carry the higher end wines right now from them. In fact, on my wine website, don't have enough of it to include it in an event like this, but it's just really a wonderful place to visit. One of the great meals of my life, because they brought the cart to the table and we bought a really old bottle of Rioja, which they have an amazing cellar. And when they came to our table, they presented the bottle, and then they lit the flame. They put the tongs on the flame. They made the tongs red hot, and then they gripped the top of the bottle with the tongs, held it there. Then they take a cold cloth with their hand, and they just go snap. And they don't have to fuss with a 80-year-old cork that's not going to come out of the bottle. They just broke the neck of the bottle off, and then they pour the wine through a cheesecloth into a decanter. And it's just a really phenomenal presentation, and the meal is sensational as well. And they have the cellar to supply you with really old wine all day long if you wanted to. For those of you that have visited Spain, you know that the ham is in almost every single thing they make. You develop a love and a hate of ham when you're in Spain, at least in Rioja. All right, so I saw some responses. Gary Novotny, how you doing?
Almost.
Yeah.
Good time. Oh, it's great.
What are you guys watching?
We're watching you on the big TV.
I don't think.
Us.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Which one did you prefer in this flight, Gary?
I loved 5.
Oh, cool.
My absolute favorite.
Awesome. Classic. So look at the different answers. Marilyn, you like number 6?
654.
All right. Jared and Caroline, you like number 4? You're going to be happy you like number 4, Jared.
Excellent.
Yeah. Because that bottle of wine is the best deal in the wine world. That's $12. Yes. That's the El Coto, the little Crianza 2016. Insane value.
Are we not guessing?
I guess we're not, because I just told you. Sorry about that.
So El Coto was number 4.
Number 4.
All right.
But that nose is awesome. And it does have a heavy American oak, presence there, but it's not so heavy-handed like number 2 was in the last flight. I'd say in the last flight when we tasted the Pequeña, this was kind of like the use of American oak here resembled silver oak Cabernet. It was really a heavy use of American oak. Here, it's a little more tender. I think the mouth is nice too. It, obviously for that price point, you're not getting a lot of power, but you are getting good value, and it's nice to have over 1,000 acres of land to farm to be able to make this wine. 100% Tempranillo, and it's actually $10.95. All right, how many wines from California would taste that good at $10.95? I think the answer is 0. It's just hard to compete. Wine number 2 in this flight, and the winner of popular vote, well, tied with number 6, is our Bosconia. Now that's the name of the single vineyard, Bosconia. And it is a blend of Tempranillo, Grenache, Mazuela, Graciano. They do have that preponderance of American oak, but old oak. Look at the color of this wine. And the smell of that vineyard. All their wines are just really captivating that way. I think the strong representation of Grenache and other grape varieties is here too. That's 20% of the wine. And I really think that aromatic that is very, my saliva gland just goes crazy smelling this wine. It makes me hungry. It's got a very food-friendly application. Smells very savory, very, beef broth kind of a nose, and lots of herb and olive. Lamb chops. All right. And that bottle is around $40. And considering the fact that this, I don't get to buy as much of this as I want. probably buy as much as I need, but the they don't let you hoard this wine. They keep the importer keeps it pretty hard to get, and I have to carry several of their wines to get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I'm still haven't been around long enough to even qualify to get any of the older vintage releases. I got 2 bottles of the 1980 this year, but what I'm talking about is that they released their Grand Reserva white wine. That's what I really want to be able to buy. The current vintage on that wine is like 2004. And it's of the few cases that come into America are spoken for before they're here. And they do make a Rioja Rosé. I think the current vintage on that is 2008. And so really fun. If you go out to a great restaurant, there's one in Santa Barbara. I don't know if anybody knows the name of it. It's just a really good, authentic Spanish restaurant right next to the water. And they have a really nice, authentic, 100% Spanish wine list. And it's pretty casual. You sit outside and eat tapas and drink some Spanish wine. And they have like every wine that Lopez makes on the list. So, to be able to go and to buy a wine that's from, what vintage are we in here? 2007. And to pay, I think probably this wine on a wine list is going to be close to $100, maybe $85, $90. I think that's a solid value proposition still. And to elevate it with really good, authentic Spanish food. Here in LA, if anybody knows a great Spanish restaurant, I'd love to hear your recommendation. But one of the classic, like, divey little places on La Cienega Boulevard, LA Paella, if you've ever eaten there. We used to have a really fancy restaurant in downtown LA called Rivera. And it was awesome. It was crazy expensive to go there, and it had its moment. The chef had several very important restaurants in his career. If you are an old LAer, you might have eaten at his original restaurant, Bikini in Santa Monica. John Sedler, was that his name? I can't remember if that was it. But Rivera was awesome, and it was a real good reason to be able to eat downtown before it became cool and exciting to come downtown. And I'd love to know. Oh, Tar and Roses is they're more Italian, right? Are they Spanish? I feel like they're Spanish. What other great Spanish restaurants do we have in Los Angeles? Anybody know? In the chat box, did you put any? Casa Cordoba in Montrose. Cool. I'll have to look for that. I'm in Montrose a lot. I think the total population of Montrose, we get more customers in Montrose than I do in West Hollywood. Near the travel agent. Across the street from the 7-Eleven. That was the landmark someone gave me. I'm delivering the wine. Just look for the 7-Eleven. Ojitos. Ojitos?
Ojitos.
Olejitos. Good. Cool. Okay, I'm going to look for Casa Cordoba. All right, so our third wine in this...
Yeah, it's near Montrose Travel.
Okay.
Yeah, you know where that is.
I actually strangely do.
Yeah, so it's like a couple doors towards, Honolulu. Well, it's on towards Verdugo. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Mr. Berliner, which wine did you like in this flight? Jim, I know there's a couple Berliners on the video. I'll unmute you. Number 2. Okay. Hey, Pia made an appearance. Hi, Pia. I didn't get to say hi to you earlier. Lauren, which one did you prefer?
We also liked 2.
Yeah?
Yeah. And 4.
Excellent. Excellent. So you love the American oak. Jared, you guys were number 4, right?
Number 4 and number 3.
Okay.
I enjoyed the 6 as well.
Yeah. We like.
Good. Caroline's got the expensive taste. Lisa Test, how are you? Look how festive your little background there. That's a perfect Zoom position there. I love it.
I'll get right into it. 6 is lovely.
Awesome.
I like the most expensive ones. I like 3 and I like 6.
But just think about how 6 is 2006, and it's, you know, of the wines it is more expensive, but it's still like kind of ridiculously cheap. And I think my price is like even horrifically cheap. I don't think I make any money selling this wine. Let me find it. There it is. $65. So this wine gets some big scores, and it is definitely a wine that has that aged character. It even pushes on the aromas there into a little bit of that balsamic category, a little more oxidative.
And just to make sure I'm keeping track right, that's the El Puntito.
Correct. Oh, I'm looking at the wine right now on the screen, and you're not looking at my screen, so sorry about that.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, $65.95.
Okay.
Makes me want to travel. Let's go. We did Bilbao, we did San Sebastian, Bilbao, up to Zaragoza last year, and then over to Barcelona.
Awesome. Yeah, that is the way to do it.
And do wine tasting. Now I wish we had. I can't remember why we were going to do wine tasting in Zaragoza, and I can't remember why. It was super hot. Zaragoza gets hot, really warm out there.
So this was a particularly eventful trip. I'm not sure why, but there was just like so many crazy cool things that I did on this last group. One is we had this couple that was supposed to come with us, and she is I'm not going to say her name, but she is a model, supermodel. And she was on our trip with us, and she was supposed to come with her fiance, and the fiance and her had a big argument, and she went on the trip by herself. So we're in this teeny little village town, and they're working on this big cathedral, and there's like 100 construction workers up on this 5-layer thing up the side of the building. And the supermodel, she only knows how to dress one way. It's like one speed, Ferrari. Okay, that's how she's walking across Spain. High, knee-high boots and really sexy outfits. Everywhere we go, people are like, breaking their neck. And as we walk by this church as a group, the guys are coming off of the scaffoldings to whistle at her and to, get attention and stuff. And then we walk into this little town, and I literally remember this was probably the worst tour I've ever been on, but it was so bad it was funny. they took us to this place called the Chicken Church. Anybody knows what that's about? But they literally had like this, they like named the town after this chicken. And it was like, I'm like, what the hell? And it was so crazy. But there's this massive amount of tourists coming, and there's this whole group of kids, and they see this supermodel girl, and they all hover around her and want to take a picture with her. So it was really, really eventful and fun. And of course, it was really fun to take her out to the nightclubs and get free drinks for the whole table, as the guys were all trying to come on and join us. That was pretty eventful and fun. And of course, my brother tried to hit on her too, which was not a good idea. Yeah. But we made it from Bilbao to Rioja and then into Ribera del Duero, and we got to visit Pingus, and we had a particular opportunity to go to this really, really special place called Abadia Retuerta. It's owned by the company called Novartis, and this is their executive retreat investment. And they basically took this 14th century abbey and renovated it into a Relayan chateau with a Michelin star restaurant. And I at one point represented these wines, so I knew everybody in the winery and the wine sales team. And so when I brought my group there, they welcomed us and took us into this room, and the soon to open gastronomic restaurant wasn't ready yet, but they wanted us to be the first to try some of the food. So they sat us down and just layered like 30 dishes on us that we only had like a half hour because we had to go to Pingus down the street, and they kept bringing out these courses. Nobody wanted to leave. And I'm like, Peter Sussex at Pingus, that's $1,000 wine, is right down the street, and they're waiting for us. And I had to like pull us out of there. And it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, was to leave Abadia. But if you want to go to an amazing trip, go stay a night at Abadia Retuerta, go eat at the Marqués de Riscal at the Frank Gehry restaurant, hit Bilbao, go eat a $9 meal, which will probably include a bottle of wine in San Sebastian, eating tapas on the ocean. And these are absolute things you want to do way before you get lost in the myriad of tourists in Barcelona. These little towns are just really, really cool that way. But Barcelona's cool too. It's just so touristic. But it is cool to walk through the harbor and see the massive yachts that, sail the Mediterranean. They park there. I mean, these things are enormous with staffs, cleaning the entire boat. And, you can tell that it's just like some epic billionaire's little visit to Barcelona, or they're waiting for the helicopter to land to go pick up their boss, or they're going to land the helicopter on the boat when it departs from Barcelona, something like that. It's just really, really cool. Or they're, a major rock star or soccer player. The soccer players make a lot of money over there.
Ian, question, is Pingus as extraordinary as it's supposed to be? I've heard of it for years. Of course, I've never tasted it. What do you think?
Yeah, the Pingus wine, I've only tasted a couple of times, but I often buy the Flor de Pingus wine because it's maybe $200 for a Flor de Pingus, and it's kind of like the wine that didn't make it into Pingus, and that's really, really great. Pingus is extraordinary though, and yeah, they make a teeny little splash of it, so they can charge what they want. The world wants it. It gets 100 points almost every year. But there's so many cool wines like that in Spain. Vegas Sicilia is also one to, to taste. I don't necessarily recommend trying to go visit Vegas Sicilia. They don't treat you very well there. It's not a hospitable spot. They make everybody feel lucky to be there. So it's not on my list to tell people to go there, but the other places I've mentioned are all awesome and really, really nice. So I think tonight, if you had to pick one wine, if you could put it in the box, we want to crown one Rioja, and it could be because it's such a good deal, or it could be because it's just such a good deal at $65. Which one did you want? Did you like the most? Ooh, Lisa, you made shrimp paella?
I did.
Good idea.
Yeah, I thought that sounded good to go with this. Super simple too to make.
Yeah, Loquita is the restaurant in Santa Barbara. Thank you, Veronica. That's the one. You probably want to check that out. It's pretty damn good and economical too. It's not going to bust the bank. It's a really reasonably priced. We in this in this pandemic moment, my friends wanted to get married, and they had big plans for a big wedding in Santa Barbara, and it was at a moment over the summer where we could only have 30 people in a wedding, and with outdoors. They paid dearly for that, meaning it was expensive. It was at a really nice hotel up there, and every hotel in Santa Barbara was completely sold out at like ridiculous price points. And I have one of those internet pastor licenses, so I was the officiant for the wedding, and that's where we went for the night before, for the kind of the bridal party. The dinner was Loquita, and we sat there for hours and drained their wine list of really good wines, and I really liked it. We definitely plan to go back there. Okay, so let's see what the votes are. Sue, you like the Alegre? Very cool. $25 for that bottle. It's beautiful. David, maybe 1 for value and 3 and 6 for taste. Cool. The cocktails are great at that restaurant too. I did notice that. I just don't tend to use my calories in the cocktail department. Marilyn, you like number 2. David, number 5. Faustino for Clarissa. A couple of 6s with Deborah Jaffe and Eleanor. Eleanor, how do these wines stack up to the other one, the 17?
These are pretty interesting. The other one's easy to drink. It's sort of like number 1.
Yeah.
With, very pleasant. 2 and 5 make my sinuses go insane, so I can't quite drink those really big oaky things.
Lauren Berliner's like number 2, and Lee Harrison like number 2 as well. That was our and I took a very big position on this one, so I'm glad some of you guys like it. It's definitely an expressive, the Roberto Pequinha. It's a real expressive and impactful Rioja. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me for this little exploration of Rioja. There's a very good chance we'll do this again with 6 totally different wines in about 90 more days, because we do change the expressions in Rioja pretty often. In fact, I've already started to bring some in. We have just a few bottles left of some of the wines, like the El Puntito probably will sell out very soon. And the El Coto, my price will probably go away at some point. I doubt it'll make it into 2021, but that's a good, really good value. Lopez, I'll keep carrying those, and I'll probably show a different wine the next time we do this from the same brand. Maybe we'll use the Tardonia if I can get another case. But I love to see the different expressions and to be able to taste the different ones with you all. I thank you very much for joining me.
Ian, if you do another one, is there any chance of getting any white Rioja?
Sure, that is an opportunity, and I think my wine store is due for one as well. We don't have one in house yet, but when I first started Merchant of Wine, we set out to only carry 100 wines, and then the pandemic sent me into full retail mode. We just went over 500 wines on the website, and so now we're giving notice at the building that we're in, and we're moving to a new space, a new warehouse, and we're going to go full on into the retail segment in a more serious way. And I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I like it, and I think that retail business model is a much better business than what we had before. I never made a penny teaching wine classes or doing events. And I haven't made a penny doing this either because I keep feeding the inventory beast, but my accountant says we're doing well. So thank you for the support. And the classes, I really like doing them on Zoom now. We're actually relaunching our educational website. We've got a team of people working on that. It will probably be open by January 1. So we've got a lot of things going on at the same time. And my January calendar is suffering because of it, but we will be catching up very soon. So be on the lookout. We're gonna have January, February, and March events to look at very, very soon. A couple of the date highlights that I'm just gonna throw out to you because we don't have them on the website yet to promote. If you didn't get to join me for the Christopher Emmy dinner, which was really great, he's a Michelin starred chef. He owned Ortolan restaurant and he worked at L'Orangerie. He is from the Loire Valley. We're doing a dinner with Kermit Lynch as our host. The dinner is going to be on the 27th of January, all authentic wines of the Loire Valley with a Michelin star chef from the Loire Valley on January 27th. So that's a super highlight of January. We're also putting together our Stars of California wine, which is kind of a evolution of our Stars of Santa Barbara, where we used to get a lot of Santa Barbara wineries in the room together. They're like herding cats. So we have a number of Santa Barbara wineries involved in the Stars of California, but it's kind of Santa Barbara versus Paso versus Napa at this point. And that's going to be January 20th. We'll have 7 different winemakers on each of the Zooms on the 20th and the 23rd with Stars of California wine. We're going to Oregon next month. Really great winemaker. It's going to join us from, I used to work for Louis Jadot, and the winemaker there was Jacques Lardier. And after 40 years of making wine for Jadot, Jacques took his financial gains and built a winery in Oregon called Resonance. And we're going to spend the night with a winemaker. His young winemaker, Guillaume Large, is going to be on the Zoom with us from Oregon. And that's going to be a really cool event too. So lots of fun stuff. We go down to New Zealand with Astrolab. And Zoom into Wine, you can find it right here on our website. We already have the Astrolab event up. We're going to employ my full team to go out and wait in line to get In-N-Out burgers and Shake Shacks, and we'll deliver both of those to your house. We're going to deploy people down in the South Bay and also in downtown LA, and then we'll satellite out from there. So we'll have 2 different pickup zones, and we're going to try to coordinate something really fun with that. And that's, of course, with a blind wine flight. We'll have 6 killer wines with the cheeseburgers, and we're going to make the wines pretty awesome.
So much for New Year's resolutions there.
We're here to obliterate New Year's resolutions. That's our job. But yeah, tomorrow we have a nice group of people on our first wine class with Wine LA, with doing wine, cheese, and chocolate, and it's gone over very well. So we're going to do a version here on Zoom Into Wine as well in January. And we've been delivering chocolate and cheese all over the city in the last couple of days as well. And so those are what we have on the website, but there's so much more happening behind the scenes. And we hope that you'll stay tuned with us. We have the Rhone Rangers in February. We have the Napa Valley Vintners in March. And those are our big events, but we're going to keep doing dinners and find different food topics and really explore the space and deliver amazing stuff to your house. And by the summertime next year, you'll forget about us because you'll be virus free and able to get off of Zoom for a while. But we're going to keep rocking until then. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us, and cheers to you guys. Have a good night, everybody. Hope you had a good time.
Cheers.